The MRA Championship is as competitive as ever in 2025. With Mother Nature playing constant havoc with the schedule, the shakeups are bound to continue in a tight points chase as Round 3 sends the tour down to tear up the southern soil in the Mississippi heat. Welcome to the Southern Heat as we get ready for Round 3 of the 2025 MRA Championship Series here at DT's Dirt Drags in Gore Springs, Mississippi. And this southern soil took on a ton of rain over this past week. DT's crew and Kevin Harrison and his crew have been working the dirt all day long trying to make this a raceable surface as we get ready to bring the OPS division out to start off action tonight. And leading the charge into this weekend is the George Farms family Smoking Gun. To be exact, that is the machine sitting on top of this class in a tight battle with Will Harrison, who won the first weekend out. Rick George, of course, won the last weekend out in Cook Station, Missouri. So one win for both of the guys sitting on the top 5 points, separating those two. And then you see Randy George, another member of the George Farms crew, in third place. Kelby Ladner and Chris Bonneker rounding out the top 5 in a very, very competitive season on the MRA Championship. As you look inside Jesse Brown's loose cannon, we'll see him coming up in the second pairing of this first session in beautiful orange Chevy pickup. Speaking of Chevy pickups, here comes one of the Show Me State bow ties right now. Chris Bonneker out of House Springs, Missouri in the 705 cubic inch big block Chevy powered Havoc. Engine originally built by John Conkle. He lines up next to Randy George, third in points in Bad Medicine with the 864 cubic inch Rear and Morrison power plant. The 4-stage nitrous system in that Racing in the Dirt built Bronco. Next to second-hand machine here that Chris Bonneker has been putting to good use, Havoc. These two will set the stage here in the first pass of the first session. They'll light the candles, then put the foot to it. Bonneker had to pedal a little bit in the near lane at 267 with a 1. George will take the top spot with a 260 with a 1. So 700th separating those two in the first pass. A good pair of runs, though. It looks like the track will hold some horsepower, at least here on the cut tires. A good launch for Bonneker, but he started to move to the right. It looks like he counter-steered to the left, and when he set the front end down, it pulled him over toward this rail. He had to pedal it a little bit, and that hurt his time, but we'll see if he can pick things up in the second session. He'll have another shot at it later tonight as we go back to the starting line with a pair of Volunteer State Chevrolets. The man in black, Jamie Suter, there you see nearest the camera in the 66 Chevrolet out of Woodlawn, Tennessee. Machine he built with his friend Roger Darnell with an 872 cubic inch Rear and Morrison power plant in the front. Next to the bright orange Chevy S10 of Jesse Brown out of Waverly, Tennessee with an 815 cubic inch big block Chevrolet under the doghouse. Ready to go now. Pass 2 of session 1. Walking on the rear tires was Jamie Suter. Not going to get by the fast time of Randy George. A 260 is what they were chasing. A pair of 2.7s right there. A 2.78 for Brown and a 2.72 for Jamie Suter. And again, you can see him walking on the rear tires right there. That truck likes to dance on the back wheels. Shoot the flames. Trademark look for the 66 as he heads out the top end of the track. A good first couple of pairs right here as your 2021 Outlaw Pro-Stock champ rolls out. Jason Chaya out of Waiawega, Wisconsin. In Lil Crazy, another Racing in the Dirt built Bronco. 788 cubic inch Bischoff Ford Hemi in the front of that machine, and next to him, the supercharged Alan Johnson Performance Engine, the Whipple Supercharger up on top. That is Joel Coolidge out of Two Harbors, Minnesota. His son Tyler Coolidge getting him staged. We'll see Tyler in the open class a little bit later on tonight, but Kryptonite, the name of that Dakota staging up next to the camera. 1471 blower on top of this thing. We'll see what he's able to do next to the massive power plant of Jason Chaya. Looking to get around a 260, and they both do it. A 257 with a 5 for Chaya, and a 255 with an 8 for Coolidge to take the number 1 and 2 spot. And that'll knock your third in points, Randy George, down into the number 3 spot. A great run for both of those machines, and probably the straightest run we have seen Jason Chaya make all season long in 3 rounds of racing on the MRA Tour.
Not too bad. I'm quite happy. I hesitated. I ended up lifting on that pass, but we went straight again, and that's my goal right now is just get truck down the track, so we're doing good.
Seems like the track's going to come around a lot more by the end of the night. I had a lot of water on it today.
It did. Kevin's done a great job, him and his crew, of getting it back in shape, and I think by tomorrow it is going to be outstanding.
Another supercharged machine coming to the line. Newcomer to us. Not a new machine. Not a guy brand new to the sport. He's been crewing for a while for the Caraher family. That is Chasing Trouble. Paul Hahn out of St. Edward, Nebraska with a 2000 Chevy S10 with a 542 cubic inch big block Chevy power plant with a 1471 high helix blower on top. That is Jeremy Hood's old engine that came out of his turbocharged machine we'll see in the open class in just a little bit. He goes side by side with Wayne Bonacker out of Missouri in the 814 cubic inch Hemi powered, self-inflicted, no nitrous on that machine. It is all horsepower. You saw Hahn roll the start there. That's going to result in a red light. And Bonacker with a 282, not going to climb to the top of the division right now. But Hahn trying to get that seat time in, and he'll get quicker as he gets more time behind the wheel. Now a beautiful new machine for 2025, Repercussion, David French out of Red House West, by God, Virginia, the 672 cubic inch big block power plant built by VZ Race Engines. The Power Glide transmission, a 2-stage Induction Solutions nitrous setup on that one with the driveline by Renegade Off-Road. Lines up side by side with Chris Moses out of Davenport, Iowa. And that John Conkle Chevrolet. Record-capable chassis, but we have seen Chris struggle over the years. See what he's got here in Gore Springs. We have seen him run fast in the past. Pedal fest on that run right there, and I got to apologize to Chris Moses. I said we've seen him run fast in the past, but every time we are around with our cameras, it seems like he struggles just a bit, so I hope we are not his bad luck charm, as David French runs a 304, Moses runs a 438, not close to what they're going to need to get into this field, but they'll come back for session 2, another shot at it. Now, a pair of supercharged machines and a beautiful pair of Chevrolet trucks at that. In the near lane, you saw the Patriot 2. In the far lane, that's Will Harrison, who won this division last year. Razor's Edge from 15 minutes away. This is a hometown event for them. The Harrison family out of Grenada, Mississippi. And there you see Kelby Ladner, the Patriot 2 from Kiln, Mississippi. A battle of the Mississippi Chevrolets. The 700 cubic inch TRE big block Chevy in the front of the Patriot 2, lined up against the 512 cubic inch Brad Anderson Hemi with the Kobelco Roots blower on top with a billet injector hat. Both sets of chassis builders and both truck owners very, very proud of these show quality vehicles that you're about to see take to the track, both capable of a championship, both capable of breaking records. Let's see what they have for each other here in session 1.
Here we go.
Did they get by that 2.5? Yes, they did. A 2.47 takes the top spot for Ladner, and a 2.51 with a 2 will go into the number 2 spot for Harrison, and that will knock Joel Coolidge down to the number 3 spot. So that makes 3 vehicles in the top 5. The top 3 of the top 5, all supercharged power plants. That says something about this track's capability to hold horsepower, and that is a tip of the hat to the DT's Dirt Drags crew and the Harrison logging family for working this track. They worked it from dawn until right before the green light to get this track perfect for racing here tonight. And there are your top 2, Kelby Ladner and Will Harrison. And Kelby has been a thorn in the side of not only Harrison, but this man right here, your points leader, Rick George out of Franklin, Georgia. Legendary family of mud racing. They owned the Deer Creek Motorsports Park, now called George Farms, down in Franklin, Georgia, that hosted many events, including the old NMRO series back in the early 90s, and some great mud racing down there that they played host to. Now continuing in the tradition after a long hiatus, they came back in 2022 to join the ranks of these awesome machines, and now the biggest fleet in the business, and this is one of the best looking ones, Smoking Gun. May have had an issue with the nitrous on that pass. It never seemed to get up and make horsepower. A 3.0, not even close to what he's going to need to hang on to the number 1 spot in points, and he has to be quick tonight because Will Harrison only needs 5 points to equal his points lead, and he only needs another step up on him to jump by Rick George. So a good night for Will Harrison, even if he doesn't win, could allow him to walk right past George. But Kelby Ladner is leading the points right now. Randy George is still in that top 5, though. He's going to try to block for Rick if there is a problem with Smoking Gun. Hopefully there's not. Fingers crossed as the rails get ready to take to the track. We have the modifieds coming up on the panels when we come back, and then following that, the open class, the blower motor machines on the cuts. Stay with us.
The MRA Championship roars into the Show Me stage. Brought to you by Speed Tech, Speedwire Systems, Alki Digger, and George Grading and Hauling. Multiple classes battling for person points hit the Show Me stage for a full order of blown and injected nitrous-fueled mayhem. The MRA Championship Series, September 12th and 13th, Upper Merrimack Dirt Tracks. 1295 Highway M, Cook Station, Missouri.
Back Channel Productions bringing you all the action of the 2025 MRA Championship Series here at round 3 from DT's Dirt Drags. And here is a look at the modified paddle tire points coming into round 3. Keith Mitchell with a 20-point lead on Justin George. In fact, they will meet in today's sessions in the paddle tire division. Caleb Dunsavage, who's out of action for the year after an engine explosion in Florida. Rick George and Jason Massey, who will compete here tonight, rounding out the top 5. And talk about some massive power plants. In the top 5, we have 3 vehicles running power plants over 900 cubic inches, and here are 2 of them, 1 and 2 in points. There's your second in points, Justin George in Shoot to Thrill with a 959 cubic inch Billy Albert power plant. Billy Albert Racing Engines out of Wytheville, Virginia. Of course, lined up next to Keith Mitchell with another Virginia-built power plant, the Sonny's power plant, 960 cubic inches of Sonny's might behind the driver there. Keith, a legend in this sport, lined up next to the second-generation driver, Justin George. Any one of these guys could win on any given day. Justin George, a 2.40 and a 2.29 for Mitchell will go into the number 1 spot, coming off the momentum of a record pass on the cut tires out in Cook Station, Missouri at the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags. That'll be the next stop on the tour as well. They go there twice a year. And it was supposed to be the finals, but some of the scheduling shakeups due to the rain this year caused that event to end up as the number 4 stop. The finals, of course, occurring in Lyons, Indiana. We'll tell you about that as the weekend goes on. Now, a machine we're referring to as Silver this weekend. Brand new machine to us. Not a new driver, though. Richard Donovan in the AMC-powered rear-engine rail. Barry Allen-built engine in this one. First competitive pass down the track. Let's see how he does. Say only had a few test hits on it. That was a good one. A 235. 235 with an 8 for a machine new to a very experienced driver. In fact, that's the same engine that came out of the Jeep we've usually seen him driving. If you followed our coverage of this series before, he usually drives a little yellow Jeep called Tiger in this division. Now decided to move to a rear engine rail, and he's doing a nice job here so far. Now, as another machine up over the 900 cubic inch range, Jason Massey, the Outcast out of Fraser's Bottom, West by God, Virginia, 959 cubic inch Pat Musey power plant owned by Robert Gallagher, who will be driving this vehicle tomorrow in the cut tire division. Of course, Jason blew his previous engine, the aluminum block Chevy that he normally runs 828 cubic inches. He blew that one up down in North Carolina last year. Robert Gallagher was at that race with his Rabbit Hunter bog truck, took the engine out of the bog truck, put it in the rear of this thing, and they've kind of teamed up. Massey and John Tomlin teamed up with Robert Gallagher to try to find a winning combination. We'll see if they can knock off the big dogs here tonight. Of course, they are some of the big dogs. Massey, a record holder in the sport, lined up next to that black machine of Sam Lombazio. Normally we see him in the OPS division. That's all in for the big block Ford-powered machine out of Illinois. Problems for Lombazio. Hold on to it. Great job of driving for Sam Lombazio. Managed to avoid contact with that outside rail. He's okay. Have to get a look at it on a replay, see exactly what happened. I don't know if he broke an axle or if the machine just unloaded, but he will not get a time there. A 2:35 for Jason Massey. An impressive run right there, but it will be Keith Mitchell maintaining his top spot. There you see. Watch it again. It looks, I don't think he broke an axle. Maybe he did, but it looked like it may have just gotten up on the wheelie bar and unloaded the chassis. It took a right-hand turn. We'll keep an eye on it. Remember, there is a ton of water underneath of this dirt. If you take a look at it when we pan back with the light on top of it, you can actually see a sheen on the loam. It's an indication that the moisture is not coming off the top of this. It's really just staying down there, and that's not necessarily a bad problem to have, but if there's too much of it and it packs in a slick way, it can cause a lot of problems on the starting line. Now, Shane O'Rogie taking Daniel Carehair's machine through the timing lights. 2:38, not a bad run, but O'Rogie, who is keeping this car in the points for Daniel Carehair, who's welcoming a new baby into the world. Congratulations to the Carehair family for that, but not able to be here this weekend. A big thanks to the chassis builder for trying to keep him in points. Here's a look at the top 5 after the first session. Keith Mitchell leading, Jason Massey, Richard Donovan, Shane O'Rogie, and Justin George out of session number 1 as we get ready to bring the cackling horsepower of the open class on the cut tires, the supercharged division, forced induction. Here's a look at the points coming into this round. Kevin Harrison leading Billy Fling, Travis Shoemaker, Steve Renaud, and Mark Riggin into this round 3. There you see Steve Renaud out of Hornpain, Ontario, a guy who came a long way to be here and is coming back from a disastrous run north of the border, running a heads-up race for Shane Nygum, and the vehicle he was racing got out of its lane and made contact with Steve's vehicle, which Steve got up on two wheels, managed to keep the car from flipping, but did a lot of damage that the crew had to bounce back from to get here. He's lined up next to the points leader and a record holder in this class on this length track, one of the fastest in the business, Kevin Harrison, and the Eric Bidlack built Never Enough from right here in Mississippi. The chassis war is on the line there. Harrison running a 227 and a 241 with a 7 for Renaud. There you see Eric Bidlack, the chassis builder, walking back after that run. Got to be happy with that. Running first, setting the pace. That means they will run last later tonight in the second session. And look at Harrison moving to the right. Remember, years ago, he made contact with the rail.
Seemed like in the first pass you blew the tires off quite a bit on the starting line.
Yes, sir. Yes, so the track, we got a bunch of rain. It was real muddy, and the more we work it, the better it's coming around.
Give you an indication as to what they're dealing with. There is still a lot of mud underneath the top layer of loam on this track. When you walk down there, it really gums up on your shoes, but the problem is when you put this much horsepower into it, it's like trying to find traction on pancake batter. There's really not a lot there, and with this much horsepower on cut tires, they're blowing off a little bit. Now, coming out to stage, there you see a second-generation driver, Tyler Coolidge, out of Two Harbors, Minnesota. Nightmare 7 with a 500 cubic inch Alan Johnson Performance engine with a 1471 Whipple supercharger on top. Lined up next to Simonton, Texas, Jim Ingram in Bad Trouble 3, a guy who definitely has a championship in his future, but they had a heck of a time getting to this event, and it looks like they're having more trouble on the starting line. They cannot get the vehicle to reverse. That's something we occasionally see. They'll walk up and kind of shake the car back and forth to try to get it to break loose, and it doesn't seem like it's working. You see him attempting right there. And there you see Eric Bidlack signaling to the left lane. We're going to go ahead and send Tyler Coolidge down the track on a single. Not going to get by Harrison's 227, but a 237. A good pass for him on this left-hand side. Again, though, it still seems like they're blowing the tires off, but right here, Bad Trouble 3 living up to its name in the absolute worst way. They had a lot of issues, as I said, getting into this event. Had a hauler breakdown on the way here, had to get picked up off the side of the road, had trouble getting from the hotel to the track, and now their problems seem to continue. Right there, you see the takeoff from Tyler Coolidge. Again, a little bit of tire spin, or a lot of tire spin on that starting line. They're giving up quite a bit. I don't think there's a record in this track tonight. They might close on it, but they are definitely not going to get by it, not with the amount of moisture in the dirt. Now, next to the camera, that is Jeremy Hood, one of the wildest in the sport. Freebird, turbocharged 572 cubic inch Chevrolet engine, 118 millimeter precision turbo on top of it. He is lined up next to a machine with more than a decade on a chassis. That is the Shoemaker family's high roller. We'll show you there in a second, but you hear that unique sound of that turbocharged engine, kind of a low rumble. On the other side, a machine that's going to get very, very loud on takeoff. Travis Shoemaker out of Germansville, Pennsylvania. You see his father, Neil, who has also driven this machine. Talk about another pair of guys who have both taken some wild, wild rides over the years. Both of them can thrill you in a heartbeat. You hear that unique whistle of that turbocharger. Look at that, Shoemaker, a 222 to take the number one spot. Hood still trying to find the horsepower to weight ratio on that machine. A little bit too powerful right now. Shoemaker will go to the number 1 spot, but you can see there is a problem on the end of the track. The car listing to the right when he got stopped, and unfortunately, this seems to be becoming a familiar sight, and he has collapsed that right front suspension. You see it buried in the dirt down there. You saw Tyler Coolidge run out to check on him, but as they work to dig that machine out, he is going to have to hope that time he just laid down that was blistering, he's going to have to hope that it stands up, because he has done some severe damage to the right front of that machine. There you see Jeremy Hood's pass. A good pass. Again, though, Hood trying to find the control on this vehicle. When he does, he may be able to lay down runs that few are going to be able to get by. He may be the new top dog in the division, but he's still trying to find that, again, that perfect power to weight ratio to keep that thing from getting so wild. He's not happy with it yet, as we see the damage on the right front. They lift high roller, get ready to take it off the track. Unfortunately for Travis Shoemaker, more damage on what seems to be a cursed season. As fast as he was, he won the first weekend out, but the word we're getting is he hit the rail at the end of the track. That may have been what caused the damage. Let's watch here. Hard contact with the right side rail. We're on board now. There you see it, the right rear suspension left of your screen collapsed and dragged him right into the outside rail, and that's what broke the right front, it looks like, but he's also done damage to the rear suspension. Now, coming to the line, Mark Riggin, and we want to thank Marky and Travis and Neil for those replays they provided us with. That was a wild ride on board. Mark Riggin, though, out of Texas, lined up next to the Dirty Bomber, being piloted by chassis builder Shane O'Rogie, that is normally piloted by its owner, Aaron Corbier, out of Canada. Working for a living on that. We're on a 240 for Mark Riggin and a 249 for O'Rogie. So neither one of them getting quite what they want. Excuse me, it was a 248 for Riggin. I read that wrong. I apologize. And you see it right there. Travis Shoemaker leading the charge, but again, he's going to have to hope that time can stand up. And if you remember back to Panama City, they had a right rear suspension damage there that took them out of competition, actually peeled the rear housing open when they had a 4-link failure. I don't know if that's what happened again. We'll have to get a word from them later on. Stay with us. Session 2 is coming up next. Back at DT's Dirt Drags in Gore Springs, Mississippi, getting set for Session 2. Rick George trying to make up for his first session pass. He had problems with the power plant there. It seemed like the nitrous never came on. He ran a 3:06, trying to maintain his points lead. See if he can better the time set down by Joel Coolidge. Great run out of the right lane. He does so at 2:43 for Rick George. Will put him in the top spot, so he does what he needs to do to get back to the top of the division here and avoid the loss of that points lead. Remember, Will Harrison is right behind him after 2 rounds. Harrison won the first one. Rick George won the second one. And here comes the guy who now needs to get past Rick George's 243. This is Will Harrison, again in Razor's Edge, the supercharged machine going up against the other supercharged Chevrolet, Kelby Ladner out of Kiln, Mississippi. Harrison out of Grenada, Mississippi. Both of these guys close to home this weekend, so you know they're going to run hard. Ladner ran a 247 with a 0 in the first session, and Harrison ran a 251 with a 2 in the first session. So both vehicles capable of getting down underneath of Rick George, but we'll see if the track will continue to hold the horsepower. It seemed like it might have been going away just a little bit. Wow, a lot of tire spin on the near side. Good run for Ladner. We'll have to see what the times are. Seemed like Harrison may have had a control problem, and we had a clock malfunction on that run, so those two runs will not be given a time. So they may be standing on their Session 1 passes. It's going to be up to them if they come back and run again, but I don't know that they will. An apparent problem in the near lane for Harrison. I'll see what Ladner wants to do, but right now on the line, Chris Moses in the John Conkle Chevy S10. Much better this time around. A 255 for Chris Moses on the left-hand side of the track, so still looks like it's holding some horsepower in there, although it does seem like it might be slowing down in spite of the fact that Moses bettered his Session 1 time, but he had a lot of problems the first time around. Here comes Wayne Bonnecker now, getting staged up by his nephew Chris Bonnecker. Bonnecker family, a long-time mud racing family, going side by side with that newcomer to us, that's Paul Hahn. In Chasing Trouble out of the state of Nebraska, the Chevy S10, he red-lit in the first session. Bonnecker ran a 282 with a 6 in the first session.
All right, guys, Wayne Bonnecker self-inflicted in the left lane. Paul Hahn in the
And Wayne stood it up there in the near lane. Neither one of them going to get around the man on top, Rick George. A 282 for Hahn. Not too bad. Again, he needs that seat time, that all-important seat time to get better and better each time out. Now Jason Chaya with the green lights blazing out of Weyauwega, Wisconsin. That's a little crazy. Up against Joel Coolidge, or lined up next to, I should say, in the 98 Dakota called Kryptonite, formerly Bad Influence. This machine has run the fast tracks, it's run the pits, it has had wild rides over the years, and believe me, it'll have some more wild ones. Neither of them going to get there. Coolidge was only topped by 2 supercharged machines in the first session. Rick George getting by him here. 246 for Joel Coolidge. That will put him in second place. You saw Jason Chaya continuing to have problems in a little crazy on that run. And we noticed back-to-back here in the left lane, a lot of movement for these machines on this side. In fact, Will Harrison had problems as well, but it seems like they're starting to develop a lot of tire spin off the starting line on this side of the track as the Tennesseans go side by side now. You see Jesse Brown out of Waverly, Tennessee. It's a machine that we saw move up in its division. It moved out of the Pro Stock division. It's always run this Outlaw Pro Stock division, but we saw it move out of the Pro Stock division and into the Modified division when it's not running here in the OPS class. And there you see him purging the nitrous. There we go. That was a long purge. I never thought he was going to let go of the button, but That's very telling of the atmosphere here tonight as the two Tennesseans wait for green. More problems in the left lane. Jesse Brown unloads and goes toward the guardrail. Still going to get a time. Hey, that's not bad. 8 seconds when he almost got into the rail is not too bad, but neither one of those guys able to better Rick George. So the track may be going away as our final pairing comes to the line. Chris Bonneker in Havoc. Well capable of getting the job done. Again, you see that big cloud from the nitrous purge on the other side. The amount of nitrous we're seeing getting purged here is an indication that they are really trying to find the right atmosphere in these engines. It's very hot and humid out here tonight, and that could be wreaking havoc for them, finding exactly the tune that they're looking for. You don't want too much nitrous. You don't want too little nitrous. You want to be able to burn just the right amount of fuel to make just the right amount of horsepower to get just the right amount of bite. And the left lane has really been giving these guys fits in the last few passes. We'll see if Randy George can get a hold of it. More problems in the left lane. He dropped the front end hard. A 273 with all those problems isn't bad. A 254 with a 1 for Bonneker. But again, nobody able to top the time of Rick George and Smoking Gun. Now we do hear power on the starting line. That was supposed to be our last pair, but I mentioned the two supercharged machines, the two Chevrolets out of Mississippi that ran earlier, did not get a clocking, and they have agreed to come back to the line. They cooled down. Now they're going to build that heat back up in those supercharged engines and take another shot at it. But the air is getting more dense. The air is getting more moisture in it. More moisture equates to loss of power. Because the more moisture you suck into the engine, you're sucking water into that combustion chamber, and that can affect how much of burn you can actually get. How much horsepower can you make? We'll see what these guys have as they work to get around Rick George in that 243. Wild ride in the near lane with a boom. Something went away on Harrison. A 258 with a 2, a 247 with a 6 for Ladner. So he's been real consistent tonight, but you see the door come open on Harrison's vehicle. Something exploded underneath of that truck, and the word we're getting is a drive shaft actually blew up on Harrison's machine, and hopefully he's okay, because apparently it just put a big hole in the floorboard. But Rick George will defend the points lead, and he will move up some on Will Harrison with the problems he had tonight. Kelby Ladner will continue to be a thorn in their side. Chris Bonneker moving up, and Randy George now dropping into the number 5 spot. So congratulations to Rick George. We'll see if he can take the points championship away from the defender. Stay with us. The final sessions are next.
The MRA Championship roars into the Show Me stage. Brought to you by Speed Tech, Speedway Systems, Alky Digger, and George Grading and Hauling. Multiple classes battling for person points hit the Show Me stage for a full order of blown and injected nitrous-fueled mayhem. The MRA Championship Series, September 12th and 13th, Upper Merrimack Dirt Track. 1295 Highway M, Cook Station, Missouri.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Back at DT's Dirt Drags in Gore Springs, Mississippi, round 3 continuing here, session number 2 on night 1. The modified paddles coming back to the line, and there you see the outcast, Jason Massey, on the starting line, the 959 cubic inch Pat Musey power plant, tuned by Ryan McCain, and you see John Tomlin, his co-driver, getting him lined up. One of 2 co-drivers is crew chief this week, and Robert Gallagher will be the co-driver, the owner of the engine that is in Jason Massey's car, and lined up the guy who had a wild ride in the first session. That's Sam Lambazio. He was the first guy to really struggle with this left-hand lane. He almost hit the guardrail on the side nearest the camera. We'll see if Massey can get a hold of the lane with the scoopers on the back. You notice again Lambazio running the cut tires on the far side, kind of test and tune on this vehicle that normally runs in the OPS division, but we'll see. Can he hang in there on the right-hand side? And the left lane fits continue. Massey not going to outrun Keith Mitchell again. A 2:29 with a 3 is what they're shooting at. Massey ran a 2:35 in the first session, just ran a 2:90 in that one, and Lambazio getting a time of 2:96 now as Shane Olrogi. We didn't get a real chance to cover this earlier. Olrogi, again, running this machine for Daniel Carher. You see Daniel's father, Joe, helping get staged up there on the line. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in this business. Olrogi trying to keep this vehicle in the points for Carher this weekend. Carher coming out of Nebraska. Shane, the chassis builder out of the state of Wisconsin, and he and his father, Scott, build chassis. They own the Racing in the Dirt shop that you keep hearing us referring to. This is one of those Racing in the Dirt chassis, and it's gotten better and better each time out. We'll see if Shane can keep those points coming for the Carher family. Big time problems in the near lane on a single. He runs a 313, but he belched a ton of flame out of the intake. It looked like maybe a little nitrous backfire there. Likely when he pedaled, what happened was when he had the nitrous set, let out of the throttle, and then when he pedaled it again, it had loaded up with a bunch of nitrous and it loaded up with fuel, and when he stood on it, it belched out of the intake rather than going down the bottom of the engine. Hopefully that saved them some trouble. They'll tear that engine down tonight, get a look at it, rebuild it for tomorrow, and they'll probably be back, likely just burn the filter off of the injector hat. No big deal there, but now back on the line, Richard Donovan out of Halifax, Virginia, the old Dominion machine, affectionately called Silver this weekend. Problems coming off the line right there. He had a great first pass in the left lane, and then problems on the starting line there on the right-hand side. A 4:14 with a 7 on the, that's the reaction time. He ran a 3:22 on that run. I apologize for that. And it took him a while to get off the line there. He didn't go on the green. They don't have to. They're only running the clock, so it's just how fast you go from point A to point B. But he ran a good time in the first session. He won't be too unhappy. A 2:35 with an 8 for your first competitive pass. That's what Donovan ran in the first session. That's not bad at all. Now on the line, the 2 machines, I said they were the powerhouse machines in the division. Justin George, shoot to throw. There you see his father, Rick, getting him staged up. They probably have the biggest fleet of vehicles in this motorsport right now. I don't even remember what the count was. They have several of them here this weekend. All but one of them. They were supposed to have all of them here this weekend, but they're still waiting on the engine for their Jeep. But we'll see that back hopefully in Cook Station. On the near side of the track, the Keystone Killer, Keith Mitchell, the Magician, leading the pack right now with a 2:29 with a 3. Justin George sitting down in the number 5 spot with a 2:40 with a 2. Not going going to better his time, but that's not bad for having what was technically a bad run there. The machine made a move, and he didn't quite get to keep his foot in it the way he wanted to. Look at it kind of drive around on him. Keith Mitchell, though, will take the win out of Gore Springs in the mod paddles.
Keith, 229 for the win. That first pass held up.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought the track was going to come around. We were very fortunate. I mean, I don't want to call it fortunate, but luckily we got a good pass on the first round, and it held up for the 2 rounds. But track got pretty rough, really treacherous. We had some really good cars out there, and everybody struggled with the second round, and sucks. I mean, it's sad that the track got bad, but I was really looking for even a better our time. I don't see everybody else get their times better, but we'll take the win. It's another good day.
It was amazing the track was in as good a shape as it was, considering what you guys had to deal with when you got in here.
100%. I mean, what the group did to flip that track completely, rip it out, put it all back together, and make it what we did. So what they did, it was very impressive. Luckily, they had a lot of equipment here to fix it up. So, but no, we got through the night unscathed, and we got the win. So I'm tickled pink. This crew we got a good program going, and I'm so happy for them and for us to get another win. So the year's going well, and hopefully we can keep the momentum going.
Well, Keith, normally pretty calm getting out of the car, but you can tell this heat is beating these guys down this weekend. He is a very tired individual. Keith Mitchell taking the win out of here at a 229 with a 3, and that's going to help him out immensely, finishing first to Justin George's 5th. Here is a look at the points coming out of round number 3 with the modified paddles. Keith Mitchell now leading Justin George 330 to 280. Jason Massey 100 points off of second place. Then Daniel Carehair staying in that top 5 thanks to Shane Olrogi, and Sam Lombazio, even on the cut tires, moving up in the division, kind of playing outside of the league right now, but maybe looking for something down the road. Maybe he'll put the paddles on one day and come out and run that short wheelbase machine with the scoopers. Now, back on the line with the supercharged machines, the Aaron Corbier vehicle built by the Olrogis. That's Dirty Bomber. Shane Olrogi at the wheel out of Wisconsin, driving the machine out of Canada with that Brad Anderson Hemi, the 1871 supercharger up on top. Next to Mark Riggin with the 526 cubic inch Hemi inside of the Bullet Racing chassis, a guy who likes to dance on the back tires in the right lane. See what they did. 249 for Olrogi and a 2.5 for Riggin, so neither of them going to get around the time that Travis Shoemaker laid down in the first session. Again, he will not be back after the suspension failure that he had. A 2:22 is the time leading the class. Here's the guy he was running when the collision with the guardrail happened. That is Jeremy Hood in the turbocharged Freebird out of Grenada, Mississippi. Again, only 15 minutes from home for him, so he'll put it all on the line. But believe me, Jeremy's got to be thinking about that contact with the rail that his competitor made in the previous session, because he's now over there, and Hood has made contact with these rails before. Let's see what he does here. Boy, he got over to the middle of the track and almost got into a rail. Hood, a 271 with problems. Late leave usually for that machine because he doesn't have to worry about a hole shot, just trying to make the thing make the kind of power he wants, but it's still not cooperating with him. That run may not seem slow to those of you watching at home, but believe me, that is going at a snail's pace for that gentleman. He's hating life right now, but he'll find it. He's getting closer and closer. He at least has the machine woed. It's not getting up on 2 wheels like it did the first time we saw it. Now, as a guy who needs a run to feel better about this weekend, he's having problems again. Look at this. Jim Ingram on assignment in Texas. And the Cornwall Tools sponsored Bad Trouble 3, the name continuing to mean something very different than what Ingram wants it to mean. He's having nothing but trouble here this weekend. Lining up next to Tyler Coolidge in the Nightmare 7 machine out of Two Harbors, Minnesota.
We have Bad Trouble 3 in the left, Nightmare in the right.
It looks like. Okay, Coolidge is going to go on another single. Can you believe this? What a run, a 235. Kind of porpoising over in that lane right there, but he got down there in good shape, so he'll come out with some points. Ingram does have it fired. He's coming into stage, so we will get a run, but it's in this dreaded left lane. He hasn't gotten to run the right lane yet. Fingers crossed. He needs some good luck tonight. Not perfect. It wasn't cooperating with him, but he will get a time, a 2:36, after having all that bad trouble. Jim Ingram, he's got to be smiling at this point because he has had a rough start to this weekend before we even got to Friday. Again, these guys had a hard time getting here, but he's got to be happy at this point. Here's the guy going after Travis Shoemaker. Probably the hardest right now, Kevin Harrison, again, shooting for a 222. He ran a 227 in the first session. Steve Renaud not going to make the line. You see he's not over here on the near side. Harrison, the last to go. Oh, yeah, never enough. Whoa, getting wild and shut down there. Rear end starting to come around on him, buddy. Keeps it down. We wait on the time.
Your boy, Kevin Harrison, 2.187. 2.187 for never enough.
How about Kevin Harrison? You hear from the track announcer. Harrison, a 2.18 with a 7. The last run takes the top spot. Kevin Harrison with another win on the 2025 season. Kevin Harrison win with a 2.18, and the guy you were chasing pancaked the rail.
Yes, sir. His ladder bar broke on it, and he smacked the rail and tore his up good. I was hoping he could get a second round, too, so me and Travis have been back and forth this year.
I see he's got his paddles on, so he'll be chasing you tomorrow, hopefully.
Yes, sir. We're gonna try to help him get his car fixed, because we want to beat him on the track, not with him broke down.
Well, congratulations in the last session there, last run of the night. It was thundering through these pines.
Yes, sir. Sounded good. Felt good.
Well, here is a look at those final standings from tonight's action. Kevin Harrison just slips by Travis Shoemaker again after a crash in the first session. Shoemaker hung on all the way to the last machine, but Harrison, Bidlack, Hood, and the whole crew know what they have to do to get around these guys. Here is a look at the points coming out of today's action. Kevin Harrison continuing to lead. You see, though, Billy Fling is out of the top 5 after not making this event. We want to wish Billy well. He's got some stuff going on at home, but he will be back. We'll see the Flings back in action at round 4. Shoemaker, Renaud, Coolidge, and Ingram rounding out the top 5. And you heard me mention in that interview, the paddles are mounted on High Roller. That's an indication that at the very least they are going to try to get High Roller back in the action tomorrow. We'll see if they do. They had a lot of damage on that machine. Thanks for joining us, though, for the MRA Championship Series from DT's Dirt Drags. Round 3 will continue, and we will see you then.